We'd like to welcome everybody back to week 3 of Phenom Part 2, Deux. I don't even know if that's spelled right. It may be, but it just seemed like it's not. If anybody's watched this except for everybody in the league, that's cool. You can watch it. I'm just telling you that this channel's going to suck because you're not going to know anybody. But I am going to tell you there's some pretty good fantasy players here, and there's some pretty not good fantasy players here. So anyway, week 3 matchup: Tatanka Blanco versus Willie Nelson. His nickname's Fat Fingers. Tatanka Blanco versus Willie Nelson. I mean, on the surface, I think the world would just say, "Hand it to me. I'm Tatanka Blanco. That's me." Like, oh, you should just hand it to him. I'm pretty good at fantasy. I win a lot. This guy, Willie Nelson, not that good. He fat fingers everything. It's 103. The projection's 103 to 89. Actually, the ESPN analytics have chosen Willie Nelson. That's because they feel bad for him, but I don't feel bad for him, so I'm going to beat him kind of a lot this week, I think. I'll just go. He has Anthony Richardson. He has Brees Hall, who went under 75 yards last week. He has Zach Moss. Might as well be Zach Morris. They're probably the same good at running back. DJ Moore, highest paid NFL player. Highest paid receiver in NFL history. Gets 3 targets a game. Xavier Worthy may be worth something. George Kittle's questionable this week. Alvin Kamara. As a matter of fact, if Alvin Kamara doesn't score 108 points last week, Willie Nelson doesn't pull off one of the top flight victories. He has the Browns defense, and then he has a guy named Jake Bates that nobody's ever heard of. And to be honest, he was probably kicking field goals in his uncle's backyard last week. And he's like, "Oh, look," not even field goals. He's like, "Hey, look, Uncle, I can kick it over the roof." And they're like, "Hey, Detroit, you should sign him. This guy is pretty average." So then you have like world beaters. Tatanka Blanco. I got Josh Allen, Kyron Williams, Josh Jacobs. He's questionable, but he's going to be good. Honestly, biggest pick of the week, Deontay Johnson. I didn't pick him up. I drafted him. But I'm saying for anybody that did pick him up, because the last 2 weeks you thought Carolina is the worst team in the league. And then it's like a unicorn came out of the sky into Carolina, and they brought down Hall of Fame quarterback Andy Dalton. So they just picked up Andy Dalton, and he's for sure a Hall of Fame quarterback, and he's already locked eyes with Deontay Johnson. He's like, "Hey, Deontay, man, I'm going to start throwing you the ball 35 times a game." And due to his accuracy and speed and quickness and just he's a field general. Deontay Johnson, very well top receiver in all of football. Maybe he scores 40, 50 points this week. Najee Harris to finish it out. Njoku, he's questionable. Maybe comes back. Bills defense, they're number 1. And then Brandon Aubrey, who's outscored his entire team alone on the season. So, yeah, I'm actually going to take myself on this one. Tatanka Blanco by 3. That's pretty much a 17-point swing based on projections. I got it. I don't see it any other way. And to be honest, I don't think you guys do. Just really. Next we got, Next we have rebuilding season versus downtown St. Brown. But he's not from downtown, and he is actually from the same mountain where Brokeback Mountain was filmed. That's actually a fact. You can look that up. But rebuilding season, Mitchell, typically not a good fantasy guy, setting at 1-1 on the season. He's made some real good moves there. He's actually projected to win 98-92 versus Triple BJ or downtown St. Brokeback. That's a fact. I think rebuilding season is going to, this is going to be a tight one here. To look at your roster, Jonathan Taylor, maybe he's just not good. There's been players in the history where they just have these unbelievable seasons, and you think they're great, and then you still draft them every year in fantasy, and it turns out they're just not good. I know Jonathan Taylor was hurt a lot last year. I don't remember the year before that. Somewhere in there he had a really big year. It reminds me of Deontay Freeman. I think it was Freeman, the Atlanta running back. That was terrible through 2 seasons. 2 weeks, I dropped him. Why can't I speak? I dropped him. So after I had dropped him, somebody picked him up, and he was the number 1 fantasy running back of the year. So, it was that. But, checking out your rosters real fast, neither of you guys are world beaters. Triple BJ, you're 0-2. That's downtown there. He's just looking at it. I'm leaning towards rebuilding season on this one to get the loss. Yeah, Triple BJ, I think you win this week by 5. I'm going by 5. You guys mark that one down. Next game we got is bye week versus DeMarniac arrest. Bye week is Ross Houston. He's 1-1. DeMarniac arrest. Will Turlington. I don't recall a time that you were 0-2. I don't. Maybe it's happened before. I don't recall it. This is an odd spot for you. I feel like it's an odd spot for you because you're always pretty good at fantasy. Jalen Hurts is only week 2. I don't know if I'm sold on him. I don't know if Derrick Henry is the Derrick Henry of old, though everybody hopes for it. James Conner's 45 years old. Tyreek Hill has a guy named Skylar Thompson who probably, I don't know, where did he play at last season? Chico High School, who knows? Marvin Harrison Jr., pretty good pickup. Brock Bowers has potential. Jerome Ford, yeah, he's going to score some points. Jets defense, probably suspect. Jake Moody. That's your DeMarniac arrest. That's your lineup. And this week you're going to get C.J. Stroud, Achane, by the way, who doesn't have a quarterback, but it still may work in his favor because they're just going to drop little passes over to the side. There's not going to be a big arm. Who do you think they're checking down to? Probably Achane. Stevenson, apparently he scores touchdowns. DeMar Chase, I don't know. You got to have somebody to throw him the ball, and on the surface you take Burrow, but he's terrible. Garrett Wilson, who knows? You know what? I'm not going to bash the lineup. I'm going to actually take this is going to be really bad for you. Will, I think you're 0-3. I think bye week wins this one. We won't know if he's excited for the win because he will never respond, but I think you actually go 0-3 this week. I'm taking bye week, and I'm taking you by 2. I'm taking it 2. It's going to be that tight. Next one is Mixing the Sauce and Wrecking Crew. This game is actually my game of the week. I'm not the wizard, but I'm going to say it's the game of the week. It's the 2 undefeateds. Both their rosters looks unbelievable. I'll just say it. Mixing the Sauce. I mean, he won last week. He's undefeated. He beat me. It was the biggest fluke game of his life. He knows it. He goes by double trouble. Double trouble. And so he's not really as good as I am. He's probably not as good as Cody. Let me just analyze this really fast. He has Patrick Mahomes. That means nothing. Joe Mixon, after the first week, I thought he was going to get 40 carries a game. And then after last week, I don't know, whatever. Actually, Brian Robinson Jr. is better than I thought. CeeDee Lamb is questionable. Nico Collins, questionable. Are they going to play? Probably. But they're both questionable. Trey McBride, he's supposed to be good. Jameson Williams, supposed to be good. Chargers, and you got Justin Tucker. Now, we got Wrecking Crew over here. Baker Mayfield, Bijan Robinson, Jordan Mason, who filled in. It doesn't even matter that Christian McCaffrey's gone. He looks – now, they're missing a lot of weapons. I'm just saying he filled in nice for McCaffrey, but now you have Deebo Samuel. At some point, your lineup's getting a little questionable there in San Francisco. Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, which, by the way, Devontae Adams – Gardner Minshew threw 77% in these first 2 weeks, so apparently he can throw. He just don't throw it down the field too much. I don't want to read every name. It doesn't matter. Looking at this game this week, the projections have it at 105 for Wrecking Crew, 100 for Mixing the Sauce. This is going to sound crazy this week. I hate to say it, man. I think Double Trouble wins this by 2. That's what I see. I mean, I know Mixing this. I know Wrecking Crew's gonna get his feelings hurt, but I don't know. I'm just not seeing it this week. Red Nuts, last game. Red Nuts versus Metcalf or Pitts. This is Red Nuts has an unbelievable lineup. I'll just read them all because it's unbelievable. I'm gonna read both lineups because this is a stark contrast. I think Red Nuts has a top team here, fantasy wise. Well, I don't want to get carried away. That's a lie. Your team's suspect, but you're playing Metcalf or Pitts, so you look like you're a Hall of Famer, right? You got Purdy, Barkley, James Cook, Olave. You got Daryl Mooney. Yeah, that's a Mooney will get you there. Jake Ferguson, he didn't play last week. He got hurt, I don't know, somewhere halfway through the game the first week. I think he had 7 points in the first week. Tony Pollard. Seahawks, maybe you're not that good, Red Nuts, but you're playing Rusty, who last week I projected to win by 22 points. Metcalf or Pitts, I project you to win by 22 points. This is a guy who I've said is the worst team in the league, and I've said it for years, but I said it the first 2 weeks. Worst team in the league. I project him to win by 22 points. If he's ever going to win, it was going to be last week, and it was going to be a landslide. What you lost by like 50 or 60? I don't know. What'd you lose by last week? It was bad. It was real bad. He does have Kyler Murray. You know, that sounds cool, but Kyler Murray's a flash in the pan. Maybe, well, hold on, flash in the pan. Kyler Murray has some of the most potential, fantasy-wise, of any quarterback in the NFL. Any given week, he could score 40 points. He doesn't score 40 points every week. It's just a possibility that he could actually do it. Unlike, who do we got? Bo Nix. He's never going to score 40 points, ever in the rest of his career in fantasy points. But Kyler Murray can do it. He can run. He can pass. I think that's why everybody's so high on Kyler Murray, and you'd like to, maybe, Kyler Murray's my quarterback. Yeah, but Walker was hurt. You got Montgomery. He's not that good. DK Metcalf is questionable. Devonta Smith, he's a one-man show now. So you just got to key in on one guy. Hunter Henry sucks. It doesn't matter. Metcalf or Pitts, you're 0-2. Red Nuts is 2-0, and nothing changes this week. Red Nuts won't lose, and you're still not going to win. I got Red Nuts getting this by 30 points. It's not even going to be close. And, it turns out last week I did the recap, so I'm not going to just recap what I've already recapped. I was a little off last week. Some of you guys weren't pulling your weight. The guys who were predicted to win this week, let's step it up and play to your potential. Listen, I've been known as a fantasy savant, so if you don't pull your weight, it's really not my fault because on paper I think I'm pretty right. So, let's good luck to everybody. I believe the game starts in an hour and 22 minutes, so let's get this out there, and we'll see you for the Week 3 recap next week.